Okay, guys, Adam Trigger here. It is Saturday. It is time for a weekend edition of On the Clock, baseball free picks show right here on WagerTalk TV. We're going 6 days a week at this point. So Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday, you have the live counterpart to this show, an hour long, with Tokyo Brandon, Brian Leonard, basically talking Major League Baseball for an hour, entirely off of the comments that you put in the chat. And then on Monday, Thursday, we'll call it Saturday, might be Sunday every once in a while. We'll do On the Clock, rapid fire, give you a couple of free picks, Major League Baseball, and I'll probably touch on some KBO on those days as well. That's what we're going to do today. I've got three plays that I have three games I want to highlight here, two Major League Baseball plays, one KBO play. I have not locked anything in yet for Saturday. I certainly will. We have a great 21, I believe it's like a 21-day special at a discount right now. That's on my page, wt.buzz/AT. And I will have a best bet up at some point today. But we're going to talk about a couple of the Major League Baseball games that could make that best bet status. They're two of the ones that are later in the day. And we'll get 3 minutes on the clock. And let's start things off. Well, actually, the first one is a mid-afternoon game. So we'll start with A's Marlins. It's a 4 p.m. game down in South Florida. And I like both of these teams. I've said that pretty much extensively all year. A's are making me look smart. I said that this was a team that Vegas had priced in the 70 to 71 win range that I thought could play 500 ball this year. They're off to an 18-15 start, and I don't think it's a fluke. I also don't think there's going to be any let up. I don't think I don't think anyone knows the ceiling for this team because it's all young guys with seemingly unlimited upside. And so unless the injury bug bites this team, I think they're going to be a 500 team, maybe even better all season. The AL is not as strong as the NL. The American League is waiting for someone to sort of jump up into that upper echelon, in my opinion, with some of the teams that are struggling. And it very well might be the A's. Now, I like the Marlins too. I think they have upside, but it's slightly different. Like where the Marlins are priced in the market are as a losing team. I think the Marlins can surprise some folks. I don't think they're going to be a playoff team in the NL by any means, but they are undervalued in the betting market, and they have a pitcher on the mound today that's as good as anyone in baseball right now, in Max Meyer. He's been outstanding so far this year. His stuff is insane. The slider is as good as you're going to find from any starter in Major League Baseball right now, and he has 47 strikeouts in his last 34 innings pitched. He's emerging as a legitimate ace for the Marlins and one of the better starting pitchers in the major league so far this season. So he's certainly a guy I've wanted to back. And listen, the A's, for as good as this lineup is and as good as they are against right-handed pitching, they can be a little bit aggressive, and I wouldn't be surprised if they had a hard time with Meyer's slider, knowing that many of them haven't seen him before. So that's some upside for the Marlins here. On the other side, you got Osvaldo Bido, who's someone I've liked. But the concern for me here, his last three starts, 16.1 innings pitched. One of them he got blown up by the Rangers. Last time out, he was good against the White Sox. The concern for me, in 16.1 innings in his last three starts, just 3 strikeouts. He's not getting much swing and miss at all. And this Marlins lineup has got some really intriguing bats, a lot of upside. They're hitting much better than anyone expected. I think they do a tremendous job platooning guys. And again, they haven't scored much this past week, but look who they've played. Look at what the 6-game losing streak has been. 2 against the Mariners after winning on the opening night of the series. And then they lost 3 at the Dodgers. Those 5 games were on the road. Those are going to be impossible wins for a team like the Marlins anyway. They faced a bunch of good pitching. And then even last night, Gunnar Hoagland, another A's youngster with a ton of upside, comes up, major league debut, pitches fantastic. So the Marlins have just been up against some really challenging pitching over the last week. Bido's the guy that I think I've liked more than most, but that strikeout number really concerns me. If the Marlins get some offense going here, they've got to be worth a look with Max Meyer at minus 116. He is. I just don't. You're just not going to get a caliber of pitcher like that in a game that's really profiles as like an even game. Minus 116, minus 110, whatever it might be, as it looks like it's trending down. So that's something I'll have my eye on throughout the day. and certainly something I might, jump in with, especially if that price continues to get better on the Marlins. All right, let's head to the night session. There's not many night Major League Baseball games tonight. So I'm sure one will be of interest to folks. It is one of the few games that goes after 7 p.m. Eastern, and it's Cubs Brewers. Another team I feel like I've gotten right so far. I said the Cubs were probably going to run away with the NL Central. They are clearly the best team in this division. I don't think anyone would dispute that right now. I'm also not dying to fade the Cubs at this point, but the Brewers are intriguing today. Could be a good spot to jump in with the home team. So here's the thing. I look at the NL Central. I think the Cubs are going to run away with it. The Pirates are going to finish last. You got this core of teams in the middle: Reds, Brewers, Cardinals. And I think the Brewers kind of have the most upside of the three. Now, a lot of people would argue that the Reds do right now, and they're sort of realizing it right now. But I think long term, with all the pitching the Brewers have at AAA, the fact that they were banged up coming into the season, the fact that they really didn't have their optimal team on the field to start the year, I think this is a Brewers team that's probably going to be better a month from now than they are right now. And so I think they're an intriguing option in May on a day-to-day basis. I think they're a little bit undervalued right now. They come off of a dreadful 2-day stretch. They've been outscored 18-0 the last 2 days by both Chicago teams. 8-0 to the White Sox, and then 10-0 last night. So the good part about that is they've just been so behind in both of those games that they didn't use any of their top relievers. So they should have all of the good relief pitchers right here behind Jose Quintana, who has been outstanding. 1.14 ERA, 1.14 WHIP. He's a veteran. Listen, this guy's really been like, this isn't like a flash in the pan type thing for a veteran. Quintana's been a different guy since he ended up in St. Louis in a trade in mid-2022. So go back to 2022. He was on the Pirates, bad team, organization that doesn't really know how to win. He was struggling, gets traded to the Cardinals. He's fantastic for them. Gets signed by the Mets. Really, really good for 2 years in Queens for the Mets. And now he's with the Brewers, and he's been excellent. And I wouldn't be surprised if he snuck in and had another good start here. And I like him more than Jameson Taillon, who's actually been pretty good so far this year. So Taillon, last couple starts, has been solid. He's a veteran as well, but I just think he has I don't think his is as legit as Quintana. Like, if I look at the two, I think the more likely to keep this going this year is Quintana. Taillon's kind of the one guy in this Cubs rotation that I really would be, I'm really like totally okay with playing against relative to where he gets priced, because he still does get some respect. And of course, the Cubs get a lot of market respect when they're, no matter what usually, but especially when they're playing this good. The Cubs bullpen has been the one sort of shaky spot in this team that's otherwise been awesome this year. And so I say, okay, I've got Quintana. I'm okay going against Taillon with Quintana. I've got the Brewers. All their top bullpen arms are rested. I think, their lineup is better than it was 4 weeks ago. You've got Caleb Durbin up. There's a ton of team speed. So, yeah, they've been shut out back-to-back games. But this is a team that tends to be pretty good at manufacturing runs. The final thing I'll note here, 9-5 at home this year. 24 of the Brewers' 33 games have been against teams with a winning record. So they've been able to battle right up to around 500. They've played a lot of good baseball teams, a lot of competitive games, and they've been very good at home. So Brewers minus 105, very intriguing. Quintana better than Taillon. Bullpen sets up well. It's something I will have my eye on today. Now, KBO, people, I've been getting DMs. Why haven't you bet any KBO? The odds makers have just been really on point. My last KBO bet was Tuesday, and then a combination of some heavy raining out games, and just the odds makers sort of putting numbers out that are unplayable. I have not played a single KBO game since Tuesday. It's not because I don't want to. It's just that the odds makers have made it really, really difficult. Because the teams that are supposed to be undervalued based on recent performance are the better teams in the league, and the books are like, we're not even gonna give you the chance. LG Twins is a team I want to talk about right now in this last segment. We're gonna look at their game with SSG. They were out of the gate the hottest team in the league. For the last week, they've been ice cold. 3-7. I think they were like, 3-7 in their last 10 games. Finally snapped their losing streak last night. But then, like, Friday rolls around. You think you're going to get a good spot to bet LG, and they're still like minus 140 and having to go up against Drew Anderson. And then last night, you're like, okay, here maybe I'm going to get a good number to bet LG because they're going up against Kwang Hyun Kim. Nope, the books say nope, minus 160 to bet on LG. And so, LG finally breaks their losing streak. They win that game, and that's the bet I wanted to make, but minus 160 there was crazy. An absolutely crazy price to ask, all things considered, with the way this team's been hitting. That's why I'm so interested in this game tonight. Well, it's actually Sunday's game, but it's a day game out in Korea, which means it'll sort of go late night for us Sunday night. I'm really interested. So we don't have lines yet at the time I'm filming this. I'm really interested to see what the number ends up being for LG here, because they are going to have their new import pitcher, Cone Win, on the mound. So back in 2024, KBO made a rule that if you have a pitcher, or I'm sorry, if you have a foreign player that is going to be out for, I think it's more than 6 weeks, like has a long-term injury where you're going to miss months, you are allowed to sign a temporary foreign player. Can be anyone. You can sign them and then decide you're going to hold on to them for the rest of the year. It gives teams the opportunity to sign another sort of, foreign player, ex-major leaguer, whatever it may be, because it's sort of a death sentence in this league. You end up without your import player for 2 months, and it's really difficult. So that was a great rule change that the KBO made last year. LG is going to exercise their option to do that this year, and they bring in Cone Win. The problem is most of the pitchers that come into this league from, as an import pitcher, come from, they either had a cup of coffee in the majors or they were at least working their way up in the minors. They at least come from AAA. Cone Win has never played a minor league baseball game in his life. He went to Grand Canyon University. He's been playing pro ball in Australia since for a couple of years. So 0 Major League Baseball experience, but more importantly, 0 minor league baseball experience. Even some of the guys that have fit this sort of description in the past, Ryan Weiss, who's still in the league, Ian McKinney a couple of years ago with Kiwoo, they at least sort of got to AA, maybe pitched at AAA at one point and it didn't go particularly well. But almost everyone that's ever come into this league has at least climbed the ladder in that regard. Cone Win has never played in minor league baseball ever. His most relevant baseball experience is probably college ball at Grand Canyon, because I don't know what pro ball in Australia is like, pro baseball. I can't imagine it's very good. So, that's I'm really curious to see if the books sort of price him like they would price some of these other American pitchers that come into the league, because almost any other American or foreign pitcher that comes into this league has had success in minor league baseball, has maybe made it to the majors at some point. So that's going to be really interesting to see how the books price this. Now, on the other side for SSG, you've got another team, an SSG, who hasn't hit it all either. They've been really struggling at the plate. They're going to go with 33-year-old Jung-hyun Park. I think his best days have passed him as far as like being a pitcher in KBO. But I will point out that he has dealt with a multitude of injuries over the last couple seasons. And so far this year, he's looked better. Now, back in 2020, he had sort of a breakout year. That was, of course, the COVID year when everyone was watching KBO. So he became somewhat of a recognizable name to sort of newcomers to the league. He was cruising along in 2021, got hurt, hasn't been the same since. But I have to say, he's looked much better so far in his starts this year than he did at any point in time in 22, 23, or 24. So I'm just really curious to see how they're going to price this. If LG is a drastic favorite here, where you can get SSG plus 1.5 at a reasonable number, I think you've got to look at that. Because again, for most of these pitchers that come into this league, these foreign pitchers, KBO isn't necessarily a step down, but it's like definitely on par with AAA. Like it's definitely on par with the offense they're going to see in AAA, maybe slightly worse. So for a guy that's only pitched in college, that's coming out of a pro league in Australia, who knows what that even is, to kind of step into the KBO, I could see that being tough. And this might have been a scenario where LG just couldn't find a better option. So it was like, do we, this guy's available. Do we just take him, or do we go with what we've got? But what they have, not only has it not been working, but it's compromised LG's bullpen a little bit, having to go and pull bullpen arms to make starts because Alicia Hernandez is the starter that's been hurt, and he's going to be out for a considerable amount of time. So that's one I'll be looking at in KBO for Sunday. I'm very curious to see what that price is on SSG. Since they are on the road, I want to have the +1.5. But where the books have had LG priced, I wouldn't be that surprised if they said, okay, American-born pitcher, foreign pitcher, home game. They won 4-1 yesterday. They were a -160 favorite yesterday with a far better pitcher on the mound, at least a more proven one. So I'll be looking for SSG +1.5. See if I can get a playable number with the Landers there. All right, that was on the clock for today. A couple Major League Baseball games, a KBO game. So 3 free picks, 3 games I'm looking at for Saturday, all of which could be upgraded to a client play. Maybe none of them are upgraded to a client play, but still gives you something to think about for Saturday. Tomorrow I will be off. We will be back with another On the Clock on Monday morning, and then on Tuesday at 9 a.m., I'll be back with Brian Leonard, Tokyo Brandon, for an hour of live MLB talk on Total Bases. Have a great weekend, you guys. Cash all your tickets. We'll see you guys on